Psychotechnology live.
Live. Oh man, it's been like a couple days and we're already a little bit rusty.
Yeah,
Like, oh, we gotta definitely
gotta get it in sync.
yeah. This is why we shouldn't take days off ever. Never rest. That's what I always say.
24 hours psychotechnology, never stop. It's a psychotechnology life. Eat, live, breathe, eat psychotech.
Eat psychotech. Eat psychotech. All right. So I have this phrase that is listen to what people mean, not what they say. And this is
I hear what you say, but what do you mean?
nice. All right. So this is in a lot of communication theories, there's like a multi-part process to make communication happen. There's like one person, they think something, they're like, okay, I'm gonna say this. They like express, like they throw some words out into the air, and then they're like, they float through the air, and then they like the second person hears them, and then inside their own brain they kind of like interpret them. It's like this whole like step by step. Except that if I'm mad at someone and they try and tell me something, I'm going to interpret it with like some anger, some madness. So there's like this filter just before I interpret what they're saying. It's going to be like, person who I'm mad at has said some dumb shit. That's in me, is this filter. I don't mean there to be that filter, but there's this filter. If they're mad at me, they're like expression of the whatever they're trying to say is filtered through the like emphasize it harder because they're stupid.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's interesting. So like you're saying like when you're like angry at someone, you're speaking out of anger, they're receiving the anger and not necessarily the words or the meaning behind them.
Right. So yes. And we're kind of like always an expression of how we're feeling or what the other stuff that's going on for us, even if we don't intend to. Mm-hmm. With like, if I'm tired, all of my words are going to come out sounding slightly tired.
Right.
I'm excited, all of my words are going to come out slightly excited.
Yeah. Dissociated is the big one. Like when someone's talking dissociated, like they think they're saying things, but it's just like you're just getting this like strong dissociative feeling being pushed on you.
Right.
And I think also like the opposite is true. Like when people are happy and excited, they like, you're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm now happy and excited.
I'm like totally on board. The like something with the verbal message is this, something is transmitted of the energy of the message, of the excitement, and I can be like someone can be in a different language and I can still be like, that sounds pretty something. I don't know what it was said, but it was like, there's
right.
It's good. Whereas it's also possible to be like, I don't know what he said, but he's mad at me.
Yeah.
Although some languages do sound angrier than others, so there's some
or some people are like kind of sketchy and like they'll say things and you're like, the words you're saying, like I agree with, but like there's something going on here and I'm not comfortable with, and I don't know what it is. And then you might try to like come up with excuses of like, oh, it's these words this way and this that, but really it's like you're feeling the sketchiness from the other, like you're feeling something's off and you want to not be there anymore.
All right. So this is the line again. Listen to what people say, not what they mean. Listen to what people mean, not what they say.
Right. I think both are true. Like I think these are two dimensions of.
There is an important thing of like listen to what they say, independent of what they mean. There's like like I don't want people yelling at me, even if I know what they mean. I still don't want to live a life where people yell at me all the time.
Right.
So there is the like, or like, there is something where the message needs to take an appropriate channel, as well as the like, I need to be okay with what they mean as well as how they mean it.
Right. What they mean, how they mean it, and what they're saying. Like what the actual words are.
Yeah. Still important. And some people sort of miss one or the other, and it gets pretty confusing because the subtext is always there. But if you're not paying attention, then it like sarcasm can come out when someone's not if someone's not paying attention, it just flies straight past them.
Right. I do like miss sarcasm a lot. Like I get caught up in things and but like I don't know, like there's like group of people hanging out sometimes and they're like very sarcastic all the time, and it's really annoying.
So I
every once in a while it's fine.
I have a habit of seeing through sarcasm to like the deeper message. Like often dark humor has a hidden message, like I'm depressed. I'm depressed. Well, there's like an obvious message in there. I'm depressed, and like if I'm too busy listening to the dark humor, I might miss the deeper message.
Right.
But I have this. It seems like every time I go for the deeper message, people are like, "Oh yeah, there is." Like, "Oh shit, there is that other," or like it's way more interesting than the casual sarcasm.
Right.
But yeah, listen to what people mean, not what they say. This is often because it's on both sides. It's on your side and on their side. The message, sending a message to someone is a collective effort. You need to be attentive, not distracted. They need to be attentive, not distracted. They need to be not angry at you. You need to be not defensive about them. Like for that message to get through, to get like one-to-one transmission of information, it's kind of a collective effort, which means that ideally the person sending the message is watching their target and making sure you're not distracted, you're not like thinking of something else. The receiver should be watching the sender to make sure they're not exaggerating or like rambling. We need to like keep each other in some sort of balance so that the message can get through clearer.
There's like I guess like it takes like effort and like back and forth and sort of like a more awareness than what's being said, like a more awareness of the context,
right?
To be able to like actually communicate with people and the way.
It's also cultural. So some cultures expect that the message sender will be as clear as possible and the receiver will take what they take, and that's it. Other cultures are like the message receiver is fully responsible and the sender can send any way they like, but it's on the receiver to really get what they mean. Right? Different cultures. Where is the responsibility in message sending? And obviously, if you're like, doesn't matter how I yell it at you, you need to get what I mean. And on the other side, the person's like, it only matters how you send it because a badly sent message doesn't get here.
Yeah.
Those two cultures just butt heads against each other. Right.
So I wonder if that's like, part of the culture war. Where you have like one side being like, you have to be very careful the way you say things, and then the other side is you gotta like try to figure out what's going on.
Wait, yeah, it's like I call it sender responsibility or receiver responsibility on the message. And it's nice to have this model of like sender or receiver responsibility, but I happen to that's great, right? Let's just tell everyone it's always sender responsibility. Let's just tell everyone it's always receiver responsibility. Trouble is, I live in the universe where sometimes I'm sending and sometimes I'm receiving.
Yeah.
Right? And as an awakened individual, that means that when I'm sending, I'm sender responsibility. And when I'm receiving, I'm receiver responsibility.
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm like, I want to take on all the responsibility because I actually have good clear communication all the time.
Yeah, you got to do. Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Like, if you want to like exist in a competent way in the world, you got to do both. Like, I think if you're sending stuff that's like, if you're sending mixed messages, then like just shut up and people will like that. Peace and quiet is probably better. Or aside from like practice and things and stuff.
And if everything you receive is like pissing you off, there's something personal going on. You're like, oh, I need to time out for a while and like solve this out so I can receive that.
Yeah, I do have that. When people annoy me multiple times in a row, like different people, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go be myself for a while.
I'm just gonna. I'm out. Goodbye,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Right, and so the idea of um, the original statement, listen to what people mean, not what they say, is putting responsibility on the listener. But that is,
Uh-huh.
I guess the other side is, and also say as close to what you mean when you say it.
Right, right. Try to like, I think, be like accurate and precise in the ways that you, in the best to your best ability.
Hmm. But
Um,
this has, I think of this as being an incredibly valuable therapeutic container technique, because as the guy doing the listening, I'm like, oh, I know what you mean. And rather than having to ask a bunch of questions and get someone to explain everything, I'm like, I can cut a couple of steps, because I'm like, oh, the only reason that you'd be saying it like that is because you're implying other relationships of your position around the issue that you're talking.
um, like meaning like you're saying the things so it can support other stuff, but it's not like the actual thing that you want to be saying.
No, it's more like someone comes to me and they're like, I'm frustrated that my partner is runs late. And I'm like, oh, that information comes in the context through my listening. That means that other things are true around that. Like, also, in other ways, they're pretty good, but this is starting to like really wear thin on you. Like, there's extra information in what they're saying,
Right.
what they mean, and that's like with practice.
Right. Right.
More there.
There was a tweet I read today or yesterday that someone was saying that their partner, the way they keep track of things is they have like one notepad with a list, but it's like everything they've ever had to keep track of, and they just put it in random places. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. And and then the immediate tweet after was, guys, I love my partner. He's awesome. Blah blah blah. It's just like this thing I'm sharing, and like it's just like this like teasing, like it's like more playful, and like it's like it is like interesting because like there is like people say a thing and you're like, well, like is this now like is this person a crazy person that you're like is this a cry for help, or is this like, oh, my partner's silly, like
So,
like
so this is an amazing thing. Like, often I'll get a story, and I'm talking as the person telling the story is somehow come up with a version where they are the only sane person in the universe, and everyone else is insane, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that very few people live their lives going, I'm insane, I'm out to make a bad day for everyone else. Right? But somehow this person, I've got a story from someone, and it's like everyone around them is insane and trying to make a bad day out for them, right? So somehow everyone's living in a little bubble where they think they're sane, and yet we can have this effect on other people where they're like, that this person, I'm being driven insane because they are the problem.
Right.
What on earth is going on? So I hear this story that's like, there's this crazy person in my life. My boss is mad. My friends are mad. My like relationship is mad. And I'm like, well, all right. I get this perspective. I'm hearing this clear from you. And yet I'm pretty sure all of those people think they're incredibly sane.
Yeah. It's like I get this vibe when people complain about society. I'm like, if you're complaining about society, or you're like, oh, humanity or humans are away, then and like you're like, I don't know how to say this. It's like that. Like I don't think they're the crazy ones. I think you're the
right. So when we're like, America's a crazy,
while still acknowledging that society is crazy, but like you know what I mean. Like the negative energy is part, I think, is
somehow we can be like, well, America and the electoral system and the government is gone to hell. It's gone to shit. It's all mad. And yet the country functions, maybe barely, but seems to function from another. Like, how is it both insane and terrible? And also there's a lot of things.
And also like your garbage gets picked up every day. Like
there's water that comes out of the taps.
Yeah.
And like both of those things happen.
Yeah, right. And yeah, like I don't want to discredit, like I live in Canada and I think like the government is nuts and like extremely problematic. but like I still like I don't live in a world that's like I don't live in a terrible world. I just have like I'm just like nervous about like the future in ways.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I think there is like yeah, like people do project onto like the people around them, and then they project onto the greater society.
So interestingly, this brings the question of what do people mean when they are complaining about everything around them? What are they meaning?
Yeah, what do they mean? I want to know about this. What does it mean? Because like I always feel like I always feel self-conscious like trying to like on one hand because I hang out in like EA and these kind of places where they do we are like talking about the future and like what it needs and how to go, and so there is this element of like practical like actually this is an actual discussion topic that we try to figure out and we try to make choices around that, and also like people really like people's like emotions or like people like the way they see the world or the context or the perceptions of reality are warped in a way that's more like emotional or psychological. And
Sure. So maybe we can. Here's what I'm gonna do. Let's break it down. Bold headline of like, what do people mean when they complain? Like on a in a like we're asking the universal question: what the heck are people going on about when they have this bitchy complaining thing and everything's broken and the world's going to hell?
yeah,
But let's like take it a bunch of steps down to like, what do I mean when I complain about one thing? What do you mean when you complain about one?
okay,
And then we'll
okay,
try and scale up to the like the universality of it.
that's fair, that's fair. Okay, what do I mean when I complain?
Do
Like
you
I've
have
been complaining about these people, right? It's a certain
right? We're complaining about these people. Perfect.
right,
Perfect.
right. So let's have some self-awareness and put ourselves into the
What do we
mix.
mean when we complain? What exactly are we meaning here?
Yeah, what are we meaning? Um, I think for me, like the way I'm orienting, it's like this heavy burden, I guess I carry in my life. And not to sound too pretentious. Like,
Is the phrase that I'm tired about the heavy burden that I'm noticing that I'm carrying as I talk about
yeah,
this difficulty that I'm facing or this frustration?
yeah, that and like I want to actually like navigate these situations well, and I feel like I get awkward because like either I'm like either I feel like I go either you're an idiot, like this isn't how the world works, or and then they're like, oh, there was an emotional thing and now I got triggered, or I move into emotional and then they're like, oh, stop psychoanalyzing me, like this is the thing we're doing. And so I feel like I got two choices that I both lose. And I don't want to live that life anymore. I'm ready for change.
Right. So again, what do you mean when you're like, I'm ready for change, or what is this? What are we?
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna put up with it.
I'm not mad. I wouldn't say I'm
That was
mad.
a quote from a movie.
Okay.
It's quite a it's a famous cultural movie where there's like a TV presenter who is retiring, and he does the like this line that and he like invites all the viewers to stand up from their TV, walk across the room, open their window, and shout out the window, "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore." And like there are people all across the country sort of doing it, and like realizing other people are doing it too, and he becomes a talk show host, and the movie continues. Anyway, it's a famous line: "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to put up with it."
Okay.
But what do we mean? What do we mean when we complain? What is the point of this complaint? Are we trying to? Well, you said you're kind of trying to change it. You're ready for change.
Yeah. I'm
Is
ready
that
for change.
is that the only thing you're looking for? Are you looking for like some empathy as well? Like, oh, I completely understand why you're so.
Sure. Yeah, let's complain about those people. That sounds fun.
So there's a few things. I'm wanting change.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm wanting empathy, and I'm wanting to enjoy complaining about it.
Yeah, yeah, empathy is good too. But like, here's the thing about like being empathetic about that. I feel like then I'm becoming one of those people, and so it's a bit of a
No, empathy about your frustration.
okay.
like self-empathy, like I'm
Yes.
compassionate to myself for the frustration that I'm feeling in this moment.
Yes, I'm human, and I am actually experiencing this frustration.
Hmm.
Yes. I feel like it did something weird in my head.
Well, we kind of neutralize the like you have an internal experience of emotion, like a frustration, and then
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 And you empathize with me and validated it, and now I feel less alone in the world.
right,
Yeah.
or like the frustration goes quiet because we met it. We met it with some compassion, and it went like
No, it's still there, but it's now not lonely frustration.
right.
Like I think there was a loneliness before because I felt like I'm the only one that experiences this because I've been unable to connect with people over this in this way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
What do you think?
we're studying the basic pattern of complaint and frustration.
Yeah.
All right, and this
Okay.
theory, this will scale up from individual, like I'm annoyed at these people, to like them people who are in fact complaining about the government. What they are also empathically frustrated and looking for people to connect with them and be understanding, and they're wanting to enjoy the complaints, and they're wanting
Yeah,
to
I guess so. Like you're kind of talking about like libertarian, like the Libertarian Party, let's say.
right, as in you find the Libertarian Party are complainers, major complainers.
No. I actually like the Libertarian Party because I feel like they're like, we don't like the government and we want it to shut down.
Right.
And it's so I'm like, okay, like that is a coherent worldview, and that makes sense to me. It's like the people that complain about the government, and then you're like, okay, so let's shut it. Let's try to shut it down, right? Like at the very least, just vote to shut it down. Like if you're not going to do anything else, at least stop. Like not even vote, just stop defending them. All right. If you're going to complain and say that they're like white supremacists or whatever that you think they are, just like stop trying to give them power. Like that. Stop advocating for them to have more power. Like just a very, very minimum, right? And then it's like an immediate turnaround. And then I think the government should be able to do all these things. And I'm like you're like I don't even know like, how to relate to that.
Okay, so there's a complaining thing, and then there's like a funny thing as well. We're kind of laughing about it.
Well, I'm laughing, but they're not. And then they get mad when I laugh.
Wait. Okay, so you're like, what's the funny thing? Like, there's a complaint here for you, and there's a funny thing as well. Like, what's going on?
Right. There's like a complaint, and then an immediate like, oh, okay. So what you're saying is that this organization is not such a good organization, and maybe they should not be having more power. They should be having less power. No, they're a terrible organization, and they should have more responsibility. And then they get mad at
me. Okay. Complicated. I'm like trying to break this down into like piece by piece, step by step.
It's that like they're picking a stand, like they're their own enemy, and then they project that onto me. So then like they're fighting themselves, and I'm like, but like they're projecting like both shadows on me, right? Like they're essentially projecting their shadow. Like when they talk about how the government is bad, I feel like I've been stuck here for a while.
Yeah. Like, okay, so we're totally the way we were. We're now like trying to piece together what the heck is going on for them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait a second though. What the heck is going on for you? Like my idea was we start on the individual personal level, like what's going on when I complain, and then like nail that. Like, oh, I completely get what it's like when I complain, and then scale that up to like what are they doing over there when they complain, and then what are they doing over there? But we haven't nailed the like individual first person perspective of like, why would I ever want to complain about things? What am I trying to do here?
What am I trying to do here? Okay, so there's a bunch of things, but some of it is I want, like, I feel like I get projected on a lot. Like, especially with this, right? Where like in what, like I'll get projected on that I'm like I'm the evil white supremacist government,
Right.
and
Right. You get
I'm the evil libertarian trying to take down the government. Like at this, like that is like I get projected on these no, not the evil, and I'm the evil libertarian that doesn't care about people.
mm,
So like I get projected on both of these like
right.
kind of images,
And
and then I get started treating like that, and those people don't have a lot of compassion. They don't treat those kind of people nicely,
right.
and
So
then I get
you're trying
treated.
to defend yourself from this projection thing.
I get bullied. I think I get bullied, and I'm
Ah.
trying to maybe, yeah, it feels like bullying.
Well, I don't know. Is it? You
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
you shouldn't be convincing me. You got to like convince yourself. Like, what's going on actually?
That's okay. So let's say this. Let's say this to move back to the level of the conversation of noticing the person complaining. So noticing myself complaining, I'm not exactly sure what's going on, and I'm trying to figure that out.
Mm.
And I have a bunch of theories and talking it out. And I think part of that, the complaining of the confusion, is like sense making in that way.
Like part of the reason you're complaining is to make sense of the world.
Yeah,
Right.
and to make sense of the situation I'm in. I feel like if I had like a good angle on it, I'd be able to handle it. But it does seem like they do it in ways that like create trauma, like cyclical trauma.
All right. So there's ways to complain that it doesn't really seem to end up with the sense making.
Yeah, there's no sense making, it doesn't seem.
Well,
And like I'm still trying to,
there is, and sometimes there isn't. Like you're trying to get to the sense making by complaining. You're like, I don't like this part of the world, and you just want someone else to agree with you, or you want it to. It's like an energetic, like let me try see what's going on for me with the complaint. So there's like, I am here living my naively perfect life for a moment, just a moment, an instant of like moment, and then I hear a leaf blow out in the distance, like my neighbor's blowing leaves or cutting the grass and making noise, and I'm like, it was perfect for like just an instant, and then something intruded, like literally came into my experience and bothered, like caused a negative in my experience, and so I need to complain about it. Like my mental loop goes like, they're so annoying because they're making noise out in the whatever. Like, don't they know it was a peaceful day just before they made this noise, right? I have this experience of
that have a smell
coming in to like irritate, and then I have this desire to like complain back, like push back out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then even the peace becomes unpeaceful, unsettled. Because the peace, like, okay, like last time I had peace, it got interrupted. Like peace gets interrupted, and like that thing's still out there and it's still going to interrupt me. So I can't relax. It's like if it's like a spider in your room at night. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you can't sleep, you can't relax, like because there's a spider there. Right? Like a spider being in your room at night is violence. It's like psychic violence.
I know, I live in Australia. There's a lot of spiders. I learned to love them. But like I completely understand that many people don't do that learn to love them thing.
Yeah, so North America, spiders are like a new, like really
we have a bunch of harmless spiders.
They're not
in your house aren't the dangerous ones in Australia. They do exist in Australia, but the ones that like will hang out in your bedroom are probably eating the other bugs.
Right.
We have this one that's like big, brown, and hairy, and it looks like the most scary thing ever, but it's the most harmless. Doesn't even make webs. It's a hunting spider, so it runs after things and like grabs, like it runs after a cockroach and grabs it and eats it and like drags it away. But
that is so freaky.
Right, but they're completely harmless to people. They don't even make a mess. They don't make webs. They just kind of hide in the corners and come out when it's dark. Anyway, that's
see, like that's giving me like scary. That's like scaring. Like these are Australian scary stories. In North America, that would be like this, like the scariest thing ever.
Yeah, like they're not poisonous. They're not harmful to humans. They're just like surprising because they're scurry because they're hunting spiders. They don't really they hide and they run. They don't make webs and wade. Anyway.
Right. No. I get what you're saying. Like, I think objectively it's fine, but like subjectively, that is super, super creepy and scary. Like, people would lose their shit if those spiders were here.
Right. So,
but because like we don't have
I mean, so this is a new topic to introspect your complaint upon. You have a complaint about these spiders. What's going on for you?
Like, it's like very agitated. Like, I don't complain about the spider because I don't experience it. But if the spider was in my room, like just imagining that situation, like it would be like, that's the thing. Like, there's no actual real danger, right? Like, there's no real complaint. It's just emotional or psychological or something.
Or, well, what is it? What are you experiencing? So you said agitation.
Yeah, it's like this projected anxiety or something.
Right. Oh, okay. So
Generalized
there's some internal discomfort because you're like, you notice the spider, there's some internal discomfort, and you're like, the world is wrong. Now I need to project it out. Get this wrong thing out of my body. Like,
yeah. Like, this is an unsafe space now.
Right.
And I don't mean that objectively. I mean that subjectively.
Subjectively, I'm suddenly made uncomfortable by the existence of the spider.
Right. And so this is like, if people are doing this, like, they'll be like, oh, but the spider might walk across my face or whatever. And like, I can see how that's an unpleasant experience, but like, it's not really dangerous. That's just psychological. At least the way you're describing.
Uncomfortable on the psychological level. It's not actually harmful. It's just discomforting.
Yeah. Yeah, discomforting. It's a good word.
So I've said this before about psychological phenomena, but we have this intuition that comes from physical safety, that if something is physically dangerous, like a sharp object or a dangerous animal, we should create a distance to them.
Yeah.
And like we should make space, we should avoid it, we should push the dangerous animal away. Like these are the things that we should do so that we keep ourselves safe on the physical level.
Yeah.
And then we take that intuition into the emotional landscape, and we're like, if this is the emotion of danger, I need to push it away. Like, I need to, if this is the emotion of discomfort, I need to like push it away. I need to get rid of the emotion of discomfort. And it's kind of like, it's a mental mistake to like we actually have great capacity to feel slightly uncomfortable and put up with it. Like, people have lower back pain for years, right? It doesn't kill them. It just kind of agitates them for ages and ages and ages. But this mental movement of like agitating and pushing away what is mental discomfort, like there's a spider in the room, but not physical danger, is actually causing a lot of psychological distress in us. We're very, very torn up about and worn out by many, many different types of psychological distress that we probably don't need to be so uncomfortable with. We can relax a little bit, let them a little bit close and be like, I don't like this, but I can live with it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. You said a lot there.
Well, the main thesis is the relationship we have to physical danger and the way we apply it to
right. But you also made a move there. Like, you made that move. I was expecting you to say like the way we treat like wolves, where we want it away, but we also do that with across species as well. So we want anything like any species that we haven't invited into our homes, like, so anything that's not a pet, essentially, we want that out of our homes. We don't want to sleep near it.
Interesting. Would that make sense on the physical danger level? We don't know how these things might act.
Right.
Not our species. If I think of an elephant as a psychologically different creature, like some of the mammals, like a deer, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I'm gonna, like a sheep, I know how they're gonna kind of act.
Right.
I'd be annoyed if
but spiders are might as well be aliens, kind of.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I guess that like psychologically is why we have that discomfort, and then you're saying the next step that people like to do is they like to push the discomfort away.
Right.
So I think like there's a couple ways to do that. Like one of them is to like, okay, no spiders in my house.
Mhm.
And then you can rest peacefully because you don't have the discomfort. And the second one, I guess, like another way would be to, if the spider's in your house, to kind of like, oh, I'm feeling that feeling, and like internally push it away and try not to feel it. Versus just sort of accept that feeling. How does this relate to my story?
So this is our relationship with, we started with complaints. This whole thing is about complaints. But if we had greater capacity to, oh, there's a spider in my house, it's not actually dangerous. Like, oh, that's fine, I can relax again. Then my internal discomfort can just relax. And then I don't even need to do anything about the spider. In fact, I have a different mental maneuver, which is, oh, those spiders are getting rid of the other bugs that I don't like. What a
Right.
relief. That's nice.
Right. That's a thing.
Nice
A lot
little
of
mental story that keeps me happy.
Yeah, that's a story that a lot of people say here as well. It doesn't really work. I guess for some people it probably works, but I think in general it doesn't really work. Like I think that's fine. Like when the spiders are outside, people are like cool with that. Especially like if you're at a cottage or something.
We're in their house out here in the park. This is the spider zone. We're visiting.
Yeah, or you're camping, right? Like camping, but I think camping is the same. Like inside the tent, you don't want anything there, and then outside is like nature, like do whatever you want,
right? Right. A willingness to be closer to nature, but not too close.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like fuck nature, right? Like I appreciate nature and like thanks for like involving us in, but like you're not like an ideal parent.
Well, nature's got a bit of chaos in it. It's unpredictable.
It's not just chaos. There's maliciousness as well. Like let's be honest.
Yeah. Nature can be malicious towards you. And
yeah.
So good reason to kind of keep some of nature at bay.
Yeah. And like acknowledge nature, like you did evolve us, create us and all that, like parents, respect, but also there's an abusive element that I think needs to be acknowledged.
Right. Which is both chaos and malice. Some of the abuse, some of the abuse is active malice, like nature is trying to kill us.
Yeah. Yeah, and because it will make you stronger and you'll be better and fitter and all that. Okay, so like you're not wrong, but
let's take this complaint specifically, right? Suddenly for this moment we're like, I don't like nature too much. Like what are we trying to do here? What's the point? What do we mean by this complaint?
Well, I actually don't not complaining against nature because like I live in a city and everybody else takes care of somebody else takes care.
Don't run away from this. You did bring it up.
Yeah, it was a bit of a joke. But let's say
I know it was a bit of a joke as well. But what were you trying to do?
There's mosquitoes. I'm like trying to I'm trying to preempt because like I think people have this like really idyllic relationship with nature. And like this is one of the I live in a society and people are always like, nature is so beautiful and so important and this, but it's always like city people saying this, right? Like given that I live in a city, right? Like those are the people I usually hang out with. Like they're always like saying this stuff. And like, look, I definitely see that part of nature and I do appreciate it. But like also nature is like not necessarily a good like there are some really negative sides of nature. And given less so that we've kind of killed all the apex predators and all that, but like we still can't seem to manage to deal with mosquitoes. And like, man, I was listening to about how lions live their life, and like that is not a pleasant night. Like if somebody lived that way, if there was like a group of people that lived how lions live, we would think those people are like the worst people in the world. But because they're lions and they're somewhere else, not near us, then it's fine. Which is like also fine, I guess. Like they're I'm not saying we should kill lions. I'm just saying that nature is really mean sometimes, and people don't really acknowledge that.
Okay, so there's a core of like reverse the idyllic nature. And it seems to do something, or at least be trying to do something. Like with the spiders, it was pushing them out of your house, or and with this, it seems like pushing pushing back on people's opinion of nature, that nature's so nice. And we have lost Daniel because he has frozen, and I will hope he comes back in just a moment. But I suspect that it may be possible to take our relationship with complaint here on the first level and scale it up to, first of all,
Australia's got a lot of rule, but it's also
he's back.
Yeah,
he's back. Okay, we're back. We're reconnected.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, do you feel like we're starting to understand nature of complaint, or do we need to like dig more into what do we mean when we complain?
Yeah. No, I kind of get it. Yeah. It's not really nature I'm complaining about, because like I feel like I'm relating to nature on nature's terms. Right. It's like it's the people who like idealize nature, like put it on a pedestal, that I think is
there is a quality of like, I wish it were different. Like I wish the people were different, or I wish, like, I'm complaining about them, I wish they were different, or
yeah,
I wish the world were different. I wish the thing I was complaining about would actually be different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wish they would like stop complaining. I wish people would stop complaining and try to figure out what's going on. He said in a complaining way.
Right. That's what I was laughing about. If only they would just work it out for themselves instead of complaining.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah, this is starting to loop back on itself.
Well, that's like, the point. That's why I'm like, we're digging in here so that we get loop back and then we understand it, and then we can change our entire relationship with complaint.
This doesn't help me understand it. This just makes it like, because like now it's really complex. Before it was like very like Keegan 3, 2, 3, very easy to understand. And now we're in this like systemic, like systems that interact with systems, interacting with themselves while the current experience is happening. Which I generally enjoy, but I think I'm not in the vibration. Like I'm not in.
Well, that's kind of why we're working on it. We're staying with it so that we can get greater complexity in what didn't seem like all that complicated. Stupid complaining people. Wait a second.
People that complain are the worst.
Well, I mean, so there's an element of like enjoying complaining as well going on here.
Maybe I could shift it to like how much of how much of their time are they spending complaining? You know what I mean? Because like I don't mind some complaining, but it's like I think there's an element of like if you're spending the whole time complaining, maybe I should just stop. Maybe I should just like share that I'm not enjoying the interaction.
So where are we now? So there's something.
Yes. Okay. Insight. Okay. So sometimes, people are like bothering me that like I'm always, okay, well, you don't, but this is a very like male thing, right? Where like people talking and trying to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really they want to be
classic masculine thing. Originally presented in the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
I actually read that book.
Yeah, it's a good, reasonably good book for psychology of the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
Less applicable, more like, I think the best thing you can do is take that book and go, well, actually, some people will work like this and some people work like this, or in some moments I'm in fix-it mode and some moments I'm in like not fix-it mode, rather than
Yeah.
the division, but like, that's okay.
I think I was like 12 or something at the time when I read it, and I thought it was really good.
Yes.
It was really insightful. Yeah, but I did think like his overall theories on like men and women being this way and that way, I thought were very like
okay. Overfitted, yeah.
Yeah, very like, okay, it's more complex than that. But if like I wish there was a way to do the pop psychology where you say like, hey, I'm going to just do this thing that is obviously wrong, but has a lot of insight.
Well, the classic line is all models are wrong, some models are useful.
Right. So like, here's an oversimplified model of.
But he didn't say that in the book. He kind of, but if he had, I would have gone like, oh, okay. It's kind of a wrong model, but it's like got some usefulness to it.
Yeah. But it's like shining a light. Like it's like shining like a red light, and then being like, this is what the room looks like. And the room doesn't really look like that because you're biasing it with the red light, but you had no light before. So
okay, so here we are trying to fix it. You're talking to someone and you're trying to fix it.
Right, I'm trying to fix it. They complain like, oh, you're really supposed to like, you're not supposed to try to fix it, you're supposed to listen. But then I'm like, now I'm realizing you want me to sit and listen to you complain. Like that's what's going on. I don't want to do that. That's boring. That's unpleasant. That's like putting shit in my head that I don't want.
Interesting. Someone's like, I have an unpleasant, and so I'm going to give it to you by complaining about it.
Yeah. I don't want to sit and listen to you complain. I don't mind like working. Like I enjoy working and teaching. So if somebody's like, hey, I'm trying to solve this problem, and it's a high level problem, I enjoy it like as a really good like intellectual exercise. And if it's a low level, and if they're like low skill, then I enjoy teaching them. But to sit and listen to someone complain is like,
it's almost like you're saying that you don't enjoy suffering.
Yeah, I don't enjoy suffering. But I don't mind being with people while they're suffering.
Oh, right. So you don't mind if they're suffering, you just don't want to have to suffer with them.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't mind if you suffer, but I don't want to, like, don't make me suffer.
Right. So if someone's like, if someone takes ownership of their complaint, like if someone's like, so version 1, I come to you, Daniel, and I say, Daniel, the government is wrong. It's screwed up. I hate them. They're terrible. It's all their fault. They keep screwing it up. That's version 1. Version 2, Daniel, I come to Daniel and I'm like, Daniel, I'm so frustrated at the government. I'm angry about them. I'm tired about it. I've shifted. So instead of being all like, the problem is on them, I'm like, the problem is with I'm having these difficult feelings about it. Like I'm frustrated about it.
Right.
Prefer 1 or 2?
Okay. So the first one is like, cool. I'm cool with it if you're like, oh my God, the government's terrible. And you start like crying and like processing your feelings and stuff. Like, okay, that's cool. Like, I get that. Like, to me, that's like real life doing real things.
No, I'm just I'm just trying to tell you all about how terrible they are.
But you're just trying to tell me how it's all bad. Like, I already know, right? Like, I'm already here with you. Like, you're preaching to the choir, and I don't want to like.
And right, so in that first one, you kind of.
And this is like probably low level stuff as well, right? Like, so like, what are you doing?
Version 2.
Right? Like, yeah, like you're just like treating me like I'm not even. I guess like you're just treating me like I'm not here. Like I'm not a person. Like you're not interacting with me.
But version 2, I'm like, Daniel, I'm frustrated at.
Yeah, I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. Then I'm like, okay, well, like I have some ideas, right? Like, this is how I think it works. I can
tell you feel frustrated, like whatever. But version 2 is way more interesting. Version 2 is way more something I can interact with.
Yeah.
Something I can engage in, something I can.
I feel like the version 1 was a bit ambiguous. Okay. Because like I felt like I could interpret it 2 ways.
Let me try that again. Let me give a different version. I come to Daniel and I'm like, you wouldn't believe what my friend said. They're such a bitch. Like she's super mean to me. And then she said this, and then she said that to my other friend. And could you believe that? And I'm way over there in, first of all, judgment.
So you're triggering me.
I'm making this up as like, there's no.
Yeah, I know. Because I was hanging out with this guy. Oh my God. And he's like, I'm like asking him about a thing, and he's like, okay, here's the thing, and he's like giving me like a fact, like fact by fact detail, like of what happened, and then this thing happened, and I said this, and I'm like, oh, like it's like 25 minutes. He's like talking, and it's like he's got 6 stories, and he's like a quarter of the way through one of them, and I'm like, dude, like I don't, like, do you think I care about this? Like this thing that happened, like you and this other person that I don't know, like I just don't know.
So clearly, but if I'm like, Daniel, the other day my friend sent,
and then I'm like, I don't care.
I'm super
like,
upset.
Sorry, go on.
Right.
Yeah.
So version 2, like I say, Daniel, the other day I was talking to my friend, and now I'm super frustrated about what happened. I'm like trying to work out what to do with myself. I'm like, feel all this defensiveness in me. Right. Then it's like the stuff that I have is I'm talking about what's here with me rather than about my other friend who you've probably never met. Who knows?
Yeah. What?
What? Locus of control around the issue. Like, do I make the locus of control everything that's wrong with my friend, or do I make it all everything that's
interesting
about it?
Okay, I think this might be an insight for me. Yes. Yes, I think it's like I'm not interested in, like I'm interested in the locus of control because I'm alive and I have a life to live. I think when I'm a ghost, I'll care less. But now that I'm like, while I'm still alive, I want to be where the locus of control is.
Oh, as in like I want to bring it closer to me. So if you're talking about someone else, I'm like, okay, but like I'm talking to you. What right. What are you telling me?
Yeah. Yeah. Like he's talking about like his interaction with the lady, but like he won't tell me who the lady is because it's like private. Also, I don't care. Also, that person lives in a different country. Also, I don't know anyone in common with that person. And like that person, yeah, it's like that person has. And I'm gonna like make you sit here and listen to me tell you this like information that is useless. Like there's no value being had. Like there's no power being had. And then like turn around like it's my fault because I asked about the story. I'm like, oh, what happened? And then it's like a detailed like
right. So
like how was your day? And then
well, but that's a different question. It's not like I don't really want to know what happened. I want to know what happened to you specifically.
Like, yeah, I was trying to. I kept the question very. I thought that was a very open question. Like, oh yeah, there was this. Someone mentioned this thing that happened. Like, oh, like what happened, right? Like it was just like I tried to keep it just very open ended. Like I'm not asking. Like I'm not after specific information. I'm just like, can you generate some context in this area? And he took it like super precise. Like dude, I don't.
Like, moment by moment. First,
I don't fucking care.
Heartbeat by heartbeat.
Like, dude, yeah. Like Jesus, that was a lot. That was a lot. That was like 25 minutes he's talking. Oh my god. 25 minutes he's talking, and then so I'm like listening, but I'm not really listening to like the facts because like first like I don't trust
right
him.
Interesting. So what were you listening to?
So I'm listening to like the way he's conceptualizing things. Like what does he think the salient information is? Right? Like what's the information that he shared? Like what are the dimensions in which he's working on?
Right.
Right? Because that's at least like at least like that's relatable to a person, right?
Like he could be paying attention to like status, like who's higher status in the interaction, who's lower status.
Right.
But he probably wasn't. That's just some random model in the back of my head that like
right. He wasn't, but he could have been.
He could have been.
But that he wasn't still information, right?
He could have been paying attention to like whose time is more important in the interaction, but he probably wasn't. He could have been paying attention to like who was taking care of who, like parent-child. He could have been paying attention to
He could
like
have been paying attention to the greater
emotion.
context in which things existed in.
Right. He
Yeah.
could have been paying attention to how hungry he was moment by moment, moving through the conversation. Like, but it was obviously there's a reason why this person paid attention in the ways that he was, because that was his way of making meaning out of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the truth is, if I had cared about it a lot and I needed that raw data, that would have been like spot on.
Mm.
But I didn't care at all about any of that, right? Like I was just like curious about his life. Like I was just curious like how his life was going. And this was a big thing that was going on. So I was asking about that.
Mm.
Like he has a lot of big things going on. And so like I picked one that was interesting to me. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But the locus of control thing I think is really interesting. Like I didn't realize that that's what I'm looking for. Like, yeah, like that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like where is the power residing essentially.
Mm. Oh, like between you and this other person in the conversation?
Well, just in general, like where does power exist, right?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I picked the status model because I do find it interesting, but
right, status I think is a kind of power, yeah. Often. Like often, depending on the scenario, right? Like
yeah, of course.
Like engineering and math is much less so, I think, than academia and
right. In engineering math, the truth
things.
is the truth, whereas in social relational, who said it matters more.
Right.
Like if I do a multiplication and you do multiplication, the correct answer is the truth. It doesn't matter if I got it or you got it or someone else got it.
Right.
It's verifiable as the truth. Whereas in social relational, matters more who said it and who has power.
Right. And so like what power is like shifts depending on context. Like it's very complicated, right? Like how power works. Like I think Game of Thrones is like sort of like a treatise on power, but in a very specific like scenario ways from mind. Like there is unlimited discussions that we can have around power. But and I think there is always like a negotiation and like figuring things out and choices around that. Right. Like even in the podcast, like even right now, I'm looking for like what's the most powerful conversation we can have or interaction, or what's the most powerful thing we can demonstrate.
I'm usually looking for insights or different things, different moments, but often insights.
Yeah.
Most insightful comment I can make.
Right. And I think like that's right. Like that does tend to be like our sort of flavor, because like I think things do like channels do tend to have like fingerprints and things that they're interested in, people are interested in, and the insight is like, I think insight is power, but insight is power, and I think there is different kinds of insights and different levels of insight and the areas in which you want the insights to exist within, like to show up. Like you can have insights about, like there's a painting in front of me, like I can have insights about that that are just like purely related to the painting, but they're not as powerful as like insights that would be related to art in general, or the painter is my wife, so like the insights, she sees the world in this way and that's why she's doing that, and like that's much more powerful. But if you are an art person and you're dealing with art, then the insights around the specific pieces of art might be very powerful. So it's like very nebulous and ever-changing.
Okay, I want to go back to complaints, because that's we've gone off track of trying to work out what's going on when people complain about things.
Sure. Good movement of the locus of control.
Right. So we've got like a whole list of what people might be wanting when they want to complain. So let me read them back to you. We've got, I want change. Like I complain because I want something to change. We've got, I want empathy about the thing that I'm taking issue with. I want to enjoy complaining about the thing. That's another big one. I want to make sense of the world by complaining about it. We've got this energetic, like I want to release the negative, and like I've got something negative going on. Like I don't like the spider, and then I'm like I have to tell Daniel I don't like the spider, and maybe
I would consider like do that / expression. Like sometimes you just need to talk or to express yourself.
Right. And then we've got those are the main ones, and then there's this locus of control, or the does that, so on the one-to-one level, I think that's most of like what's going on when I complain about things.
Locus of control is interesting as well, because like I think the way you're saying it, or how what you're saying, how you're saying, where you're saying it, like that itself, like speech is an action.
Right. That's so say that again. I think that the idea that speech is an action is an incredibly valuable and interesting idea. Can you expand on it?
Yeah. Sometimes it's not necessarily like you're not necessarily just about like the thing that you're saying, but that you're saying it, right? Like if you can stand up in front of, like when you talk, like that is in a way that is like in it's very commonly an expression of power, because everybody has to listen. And so that has effects on things. Yeah, because it's like rude to interrupt people. So
there's this idea that I have not examined well enough. I'm like, oh, I want to examine that more, which is something like what you said, the phrase speech is an action. And so I take that as like just like moving my arm, or like lifting a thing, or walking over there. Speech is equally an act that I can do. I can move my body in such a way that causes the speech to come out my mouth. And in that sense, sometimes we think of speech or the words as only an intellectual phenomena, as if I had another thought travel through my brain, in the sense that it wasn't really an action. It was just a passing concept in my mind. But actually, speech is an action. It like puts into the world, out of my body into the world, some noise, some words, some like the idea in my head then comes out as an action. And that's the brains on sticks, the intellectuals that are all head and less embodiment and less connected to reality, forget that speech is also an action.
Yeah.
And the idea that speech is an action is very important, especially for like your words are important. You should speak the truth. You should be aware of the effect that your words can have on other people.
Yeah.
Like sticks and stones, but words are also an action.
Yeah.
Like in the same way as you're entitled to all the thoughts inside your head, except that as soon as you let them out of your head, that's when you mix it with reality and possibly have bad time. Although I would
thoughts are also
thoughts as well, ideally.
Yeah, thoughts are also real. I think thinking is an action as well. But yeah, definitely like speech is much more like speech affects people outside you more, like in ways that thinking doesn't.
Right. And I'd say there's a practice called circling, which is very good for studying this. You sit in a circle with people and you comment on present moment, what's going on for you. So I feel the sensations in my body and notice this thought came up, without saying I think X, but I noticed this thought came up. And this has got a little bit of suspending and a little bit of like presence in sharing with the people in the circle. And this can help you to notice, like, you'll say a thing and then the entire shape of the conversation will change based on a little bit of an added element from you, which is remarkable to start to study and start to pay attention to.
Yeah. Yeah, circling is amazing for that. Like, I think it's going to be like an autistic thing for sure. Like, if it's not already. Just because, like I think the autistic stuff, it is hard to understand, like what's happening socially, and like circling is literally just that. Like, what is happening socially, or socially and like experientially. Like, so like the individual and then the social level, but it's like kind of just feelings and effects, like without without any content, without any outside context.
Mm. Very
So
present moment, very like experiential.
yeah, and so you can like sit and practice that skill, which is pretty, like, that's what I feel I kind of like did with the circling, is like I sat and practiced that skill for a long time.
And then you came out the other side feeling more skilled at what's going on for you in the moment to moment.
Yeah. Well, I came out of the side like, oh, fuck this, I'm done. Right. But I think like the result that I like about it is that is that like then I was able to transfer it out to real life, because I'm like, oh, circling, you're just saying things, like this is still just real. This is still real life. We're just pretending it's not. But then you're like, okay, like this is an actual human in front of me, and I'm getting to see what's happening with them. And like that's like, it's socially acceptable to do that. Like that's normal. I mean, in that context.
Okay, so let's see if we can go from complaint all the way up, right? So we were like, let's take the individual version of like, what am I doing when I'm complaining, and see if I can apply those things to the like, what are other people doing when they're complaining, and like,
Sure.
So particularly
the meaning behind the words. Yes.
Right. What do they mean? What do they mean when they complain?
Yeah.
Is it easier for you to live with, now that we've done this? Like, let's examine real close. Is it easier for you to live with other people complaining? I still have a hard time with. I'm better now with judgment than I used to be, but I still have a bit of a hard time with it. Which judgment is similar, very close by to complaint. What do people mean when they complain now?
I think they mean this like weird interaction of a lot of them that kind of gets locked in a place that I don't want to be.
Interesting. What is it? What is it about that place that you don't want to be there?
It feels like a traffic jam a lot of times. Like it's like, oh, I have. It's like you can like take maybe all of those things that you mentioned, and they're all present, but they're all interacting in a way where it's like, this is the only thing I can say, and there's no response that you can give me that will untie this. Like, so like I could, in theory, if I wanted to, sit and try to unpick each thing, like, oh, like validate, and then like insight, and then this, and then like little pieces, until like the thing starts to unravel. But like, I don't really like the person enough to like, I don't have that relationship. I don't like them enough to sit and do that.
Well, it's like, very not responsible for. In many cases, I'm not responsible for the person complaining about the thing. Like if someone says to me, like the government, I'm like, oh, okay, that's between you and the government. I'm all the way over here saying like, oh, I wish I could help with that.
Right. Right.
I'm responsible, in which case that's difficult.
Right. And the other thing is also like, if I got caught doing that, then they'd be like, oh, Daniel's doing something, and like now I'm like paranoid and like gonna like, reputation. Right. It's like essentially like it's like would be non-consent, I guess is the way. Like it's they don't want me to do that. I don't want to do that. And I don't want to listen to this either. Maybe I should just stop hanging out with those people.
Well, that's one option. Another option is
the problem is they got the shelling point. I hate it when people get the shelling point, and I don't really want the people, but I want to be near that shelling point.
So I have on my screen over here a recent post on Facebook where someone said, how do I have empathy for people when they're blaming me for their misery? So this is a very similar topic. This like, complaint is coming out. What do I do about this?
That's a double, right? Because on one hand, like I want to like empathize with you and be like, okay, like it sucks that there's this person here doing that. On the other hand, I feel like I have to defend myself, because like then then they're going to treat me like I'm the source of the misery. Right. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to live in the world with that identity.
Right. So there's a real trick of like, how do I learn to love people complaining? How do I
How do I
learn?
love people complaining?
Well, because people freaking love complaining, but how do I learn to love that they are complaining?
Do I have to? Is this the thing I have to do?
Well, given that you have no power over people to stop them from complaining, you better start
I'm
learning to love
I'm
it.
getting a lot better at it. I'm like I'm getting a lot better at putting up boundaries.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve the problem that there exists complaint in the world.
Yeah, but I don't have to listen to it.
Yes, but that also doesn't solve the problem that just because you're not listening to it doesn't mean it's not there. You actually have a difficulty forming a relationship with complaint, whether or not it's happening right now. That difficulty remains. Like psychologically, your psyche doesn't know how to address this issue. Whether or not someone's complaining to you right now,
Okay.
in this moment, you haven't worked out how to deal with the fact that maybe tomorrow someone will complain at you. You've just learned how to block it out today and tomorrow. Like, we're not done here. We haven't solved what do I do about people who complain. We've solved
Yes, well, yes, I
get
have.
more out of my life.
Okay. A couple things happening. First off, I want to acknowledge that there's the psychological uh
Relationship, whatever.
thing that I'm in a way I'm avoiding.
Well, yeah, totally, definitely. Like, get away from your triggers is a great solution temporarily. Like, get some peace in the world. Away from people complaining for a while.
But
Yourself recover.
But this is a scalable solution, right? So if I get good at like setting up boundaries, then I, in theory, will not have to listen to very much complaining in my
life. Right. Sure. Are you convinced? I'm not convinced.
Well, I'm not. I'm like, this is like a hypothesis. I'm like, I think seems like a viable path, like a viable way to live my life, but I haven't like lived it out yet, so I don't know if, like, I'm not speaking from, I'm like postulating, not.
So, yes, you partially solve the problem of there exists complaints, there exists people complaining in my general direction by putting up boundaries and saying, "Don't tell me about it." That kind of works. You're also
no. It wouldn't be in that way. It would be like, hey, it sounds like what you're doing is complaining. I'm happy to engage with you in solution or exploring your feelings way, but I'm not interested in just listening to you complain.
I mean, like, maybe that worked for a while. And I think it will work for a while. And I also think you haven't solved the underlying personal relationship with complaint puzzle.
Okay. All right. Tell me more. I'm open to this.
One day you're going to be on an airplane and you're stuck there for like 5 hours, and then someone is complaining and you're like, you know what? It can even be you're sitting next to two people who are complaining at each other. It's not even you anymore, but you now coexist in the world with two people who are complaining for the next 5 hours.
Well, why can't I just do that then? Be like, hey, I noticed you two are complaining at each other. This is becoming a very unpleasant situation.
Even if they're not complaining to you, they're just complaining to each other next to you.
Yeah, to each other. And I'm in the middle of this, and this is very unpleasant. I would be happy to facilitate some either constructive dialogue or to explore some emotions or to help problem solve.
Maybe. I mean, maybe that'll work. And maybe they'll be like, but out of our lives, we're going to keep talking however we like.
Yeah. So
what are you going to do? You're just going to have to sit there and listen or something.
I could be, okay. So I have a couple ideas. So one, I can like try to do like like, this is extremely rude what you're doing and unpleasant. And then, whatever they're talking about, I can start to use that as to like show them how I'm a human being and they're being mean to me right now. Or I can say, if you don't stop, I'm going to make really smelly farts.
I like that one, because I think the first strategy was like, I'm going to get in the middle of your complaints and then like disrupt the conversation and form my own one. And the second one was, I'm just going to make smelly farts.
Yeah. Which I can't do on command, but they don't know that.
Right. They don't know that.
See, that's another thing you could do when people are like being rude, I feel like you have permission, and you like try to like be reasonable, and they stop. I feel like you're allowed to escalate to that level of rudeness.
Mm. Well, all right, let me try one more angle on this. How would you like people to treat you when you're complaining about things?
Exactly, that first one of like the boundaries. I would love if somebody's like, "Hey, I would love to like, I would set up these containers for you." Like that would be amazing.
Okay. Okay, so if we've got a
Like you did that. What do you mean? You already did that in this episode, right? Like that was perfect.
right, okay.
Like that's exactly how I would love someone to do it.
I mean, if you have a reciprocal, like it's symmetric on both sides, that if you're doing it to someone else, you'd be fine with them doing this, and if they're doing it to you, you'd be fine to like set up the boundaries, then maybe you do have the solution.
Yeah. I feel more confident now.
Yeah, okay.
But I still want to hear what you were going to suggest because it sounds interesting.
Well, okay.
Like I wanted to hear the direction that you want to go, even though I like my solution. I'm happy with it.
Okay.
But also,
let me offer you an alternative solution. Even if you didn't ask for it.
Except you didn't. No, I just asked for it now.
Right. Okay.
But like to hear it, not to necessarily live that way.
So one way I view this is like energetic force in the world, right? So it is that someone is like throwing a complaint at me, right? It's like we're playing tennis. I have the choice to hit the ball away. I have the choice to like build a wall across the tennis net and not play tennis. I have the choice to like play tennis, like, or I have the choice to do something entirely different. Like I have all sorts of possibilities, but right now I've got this tennis ball this complaint coming towards me, right?
Sure.
It is in that moment that I'm like, that I want choice. I want to be I want to be able to make a choice. I don't want to like lock in. I always put up a boundary and I always don't hit the ball back. I don't want to, because maybe sometimes the ball will get like past my boundary or something and be like, oh no, the complaint is coming. It's actually come in already. I want to be able to like engage with it. Like, what do I want with this complaint? And to the extent that someone is had a bad time, like the government treated them badly, and now they're coming to tell me that and like bother me about the fact that the government treated them badly. I'm like, okay, right. I'm gonna have to. I want to be able to just receive it. I want to be able to be like, okay, you're telling me the government bothered you, and then decide what I want to do with it, and like potentially have a transformative relationship with it, because I don't have to be like, wait, hold up, I sense a complaint coming out of your mouth. Like, stay back. I want to be able to just like, okay, this is just what's here today, and I'd like other things instead. Let's work in a different direction. But rather than the like stopping the energy from coming in, particularly like people
like redirecting it. This is a much smoother way of doing it, I think.
Maybe, hopefully. I'd like people who have complaint energy in the world have energy to like try and change the world. That's something like very powerful.
To at least try to break things that are in front of them.
Well, yeah. Well, they you know, if I go back to the spider example, that I notice there's a spider in my room and I'm like, oh no, it's in my space, right? It's something or like the leaf blower, right? I'm like, I was having a peaceful moment and then something like some sort of energy intruded, like the noise intruded on my attention. And I went, why? Like, I want to push back, right? So someone has come to me with a complaint with a like extra, like they've got extra energy in their system that they're trying to like move. So I could just receive the energy. I could help move the energy.
Yeah.
I don't have to fight it, defend it. It's just like, so now I'm just an energy wizard that can move things around.
Right. I think that is the first step. I was thinking more like after doing that a while and it doesn't work. Because someone opens with a complaint to like open it up and just like start talking about it to like help them open up and everything. Like I think that is the correct thing, because like the complaint is kind of like that first signal of there's something up here that I don't know what, and I kind of need help. Like, so to hear it as like a help, as like an
invitation rather than a demand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ideally,
I was sort of talking.
come to me with a complaint. I want to treat it as an
Yeah.
invitation to engage and to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I was sort of talking, like, the thing I was saying of the boundaries, I think was, it was like after a while when I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Like fair enough.
this is beyond my skill now. Yeah.
It's
Or
also not my problem at some point.
Yeah. At some point, this has become violent on me, and I'm going to have to complain
Right.
with somebody else to get it out of my system.
Right. But in the initial moment, I want to be able to be like, oh, there's energy coming to, like, this person is barraging me with complaint energy. And I'm like, okay, what do I want to do with this energy? I'm going to like transform it, turn it around, and do something super cool. Like, powerfully empower them out of victimhood into what's the solution of the victim triangle?
Victim.
The victim becomes the change agent or something.
Yeah, so I think the victim, savior, persecutor.
Right, and then the inverse triangle.
Oh.
Victim becomes the creator. There you go.
Okay.
So. Wait,
flesh that one out, because remind us.
I've just dived into a model called the victim triangle. Yeah. So the victim triangle was originally made for stage production because it perfectly describes what's going on in like drama between people. And then someone sort of worked out it's also kind of useful for therapeutic intervention and understanding. There are three players in the victim triangle: the victim and the persecutor. So someone's being mean to the victim, and the victim's coming to often when you're looking at it, you're the rescuer. And so someone's being mean to the victim, and the victim's running to you and being like, they're being mean to me. And so you're the rescuer, right? These are the three positions: rescuer, persecutor, and victim. Classic drama triangle. What the rescuer will usually do, and this is the pattern of the drama triangle. The rescuer will sort of rescue the victim, be like, don't worry about them, come over here, and then like interact with the victim. The victim stays the victim, but you become you keep interacting with them, and then you become the new persecutor, and then they run away to find a new rescuer. Right? This is the pattern of the victim triangle. And then you're like, what the hell? I'm not the bad guy here. Why am I being treated by like the persecutor? And there's someone else rescuing the victim. And you're like, well, you have fun with them. Like,
right. Like, I know how this ends. Like,
yeah, I've seen. Wait a second, I'm getting privy to this. Right.
Yeah.
Between the three positions, right? So, if we turn this from a disempowerment triangle, like the victim is disempowered, to an empowerment triangle, what's actually going on? So, what we want instead of a rescuer, instead of a hero or savior, is we want something like a coach. We want someone who can guide the victim to be less like a victim. Well, I'm not going to save you, but I'm going to like coach you through this. I'm going to help you out. And I'm not going to be the hero. I'm going to be the like stand by you, be a good friend, but actually you need to change your circumstances.
Right.
And so
like more secure attachment.
Right. And we want the victim to become the creator. So the victim can like change the situation. And the persecutor, the bad guy, we want to stop like projecting on them that they're the bad guy. They're just the challenger. There's some challenge in the victim's life. They've come forward and they're like, they're putting pressure on the victim, and the victim is like, I'm the victim here, you are the bad guy. But actually, from the challenger perspective, they've probably just come forward and gone like, I don't like how you do this. And the victim's gone like, right? So the transform triangle has the creator, because the creator can choose the challenger and the coach. And this was important because we were talking about being an energy wizard, or the like transforming the energy. So the victim has come to me with a complaint, right? I'm the rescuer in this moment. Victim's complaining about the persecutor. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to save you from your complaint. Like, I don't have power over the government, but I want to turn you into a creator. I want to see if you have the capacity to change your relationship.
Okay. Yeah, this is starting to land for me.
And I'm going to be like, hey, maybe you should start a petition. Maybe you should contact a different government department. Maybe you should send another email. Maybe you should, I don't know. What do you want to do about it? And then the victim becomes the creator. They're like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try apply for funding to do a different program because I think people like me need help. The challenger becomes the persecutor becomes the challenger. Life gives us challenge, but it's not about making us a victim. It's about us rising through the challenge and creating something better.
Right.
Anyway, that was a long speech, but that's the
no, but I like this.
Transforming the victim triangle into possibility.
Yeah. So, wait. So am I the victim here? Wait, are you saying the complainer is the victim, or am I the victim?
In theory, anytime someone is complaining, be it them complaining about the government or you complaining about them, you are being the victim in this moment.
Right. But if I have to sit there and listen to them, then I'm also a victim. So am I using this to make myself better, or am I using this to make them better?
Well, just if you refuse to become the victim, instead of like, oh, I'm so bored there, like in my head, I repeat the story that I'm so bored, I'm so sick of hearing all about this. I'm like, okay, how do I become no longer the victim of them blabbering at me, but the creator? I want to make something different out of this. And then, I mean, you can coach yourself. I can coach myself to like, what would I like from this complaint instead? I'd like to see them solving their own problems. Okay, let's see if we can get that to happen. And so I coach myself, and like I'm invested in the possible world where they solve their own problems. And now I'm gonna like try and get them to solve their own problems and see if it works.
Okay, I like this. So instead of me like telling them to fuck off, I can coach them into fucking off. No, I can coach them into the relationship where it's a much better relationship. And this would be something that would be actually like fun and interesting for me. So the thing I have from Move to Coach with Clear Support is I care about you and I know you're capable. So it's like,
right.
Yeah, showing that you care about them and then validating them. Do nothing that the other can do for him or herself. So that's how I do parenting, pretty much. It's like I don't do anything he could do. And he's very, very capable. Active. So I know you can do this, so like validating them, pushing them up. I'm willing to listen to your problem without making it mine to solve. See, that one is interesting. I find I do that. It's like, even though they weren't doing that to me in the first place, but just saying that kind of like moves them into that meta level of like them realizing, like them paying attention to what they're doing, paying attention to like the fact that they're like actually like sitting there and talking to me, versus like sometimes people just talk and they don't necessarily realize that they're talking so much, but like they're not like acutely aware of it. State boundaries. I'm willing to listen for 20 minutes. That's a good one. I like that one. That's like a good boundary. Like I'm willing to put in this amount of time. I'm willing to do that, to do this, and then provide choices. I will list 15 minutes now. You may call back next Tuesday. You choose. So yeah, like you're controlling the frame. So you're saying, you're like the person's doing this, and then instead of getting sucked into their world, you're like, okay, I'm willing to do this much and in this way, and this, like very benevolent, very nice for them, for you, so that they can acknowledge that when they're complaining at you, you're doing them a favor by listening, which I feel like a lot of complainers are not really acknowledging. And then once it's like kind of on those terms, then it's then I feel the relationship's much better. Because then I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I like that. That's really nice. That's a really nice way of relating.
I'm actually, so I don't know if you remember, I'm drawn into the possibility of using the triangle in reverse as well.
Okay, let's hear that.
This is cautionary territory because it is advanced personal development and not beginner personal development. This is possibly open only to people who are further down the path of personal development, not people.
These are advanced techniques that are not for the.
This is secret. This is super secret. This is like join my private course and maybe I'll coach you for $50,000 a year and take you to like the next level of relationship with victim triangle. But the teaser,
but you can't resist sharing.
But the teaser for the possibility is that in ways in which your life has stagnated, it is because you're not yet enough of a victim. And what you need to do is make yourself more of a victim, pull yourself in, and then you'll clarify momentarily clarify who's your persecutor and who are your rescuers, and then flip the triangle. Because you are empowered to be able to like do such a thing.
Okay, that's interesting because I feel like that's
willingness to be able to occupy places like the victim to then be a transformation on such a diagram. But this is an advanced psychotechnologies technique and not for the faint-hearted. Because
that's interesting.
Wrong, you're just the victim.
I feel like that's kind of what you did for me today, where I was like seeing myself as a victim of people that complain against me. Is that kind of what you're saying? And then I was able to sort of analyze from my victimness who are my persecutors and how to deal with them. And now I feel very empowered. And I feel like if I practice this a bunch of times, I will have a skill that very few people have.
Right. Yes, kind of. Powerful. This is a very rare flip. So most theories, you're like, how do we get you more into an adult? How do we get you more responsible? But actually, if you do the reverse, sometimes you also find a powerful move. How do we get you less responsible, more lazy? Yeah. The only way to be more lazy is to plan your life better around it so that you can have more lazy time, right?
Yes, I actually do that. Like I try to be efficient so that I can be lazy.
Right, of course. That one you already know, but it's like, how do you be more? Anyway, you get the picture of the reverse.
Right. Okay. So how do I be more of a victim? Is what you're saying?
Again, I wouldn't recommend this.
Okay. But it's too late because you brought it up. So now we have to like.
How do you be more of a victim? And then
we have to at least try to send that in a way that's more clear, right? Like we were talking about before, to people to try to understand what they're hearing and then the meaning behind the words, and then for people to then when they're sending it out to try to make it clearer. So I think we have to clear it up a little bit. Maybe keep it on a simple level, but
sure.
Still. So like, how do I become more of a victim? And not in like the
right. If well, it's sort of like if I'm too in control of my destiny, I'm fully responsible for myself. I'm gonna not need any help. But if I can find ways in which I can be a little bit more victim or a little bit more fragile, then I'm going to invite people to come support me.
Vulnerable.
You're talking about vulnerable. Yes, kind of.
Yeah. I think there's a big difference between vulnerable and victimhood.
Yes. Well, there's an overlap.
Yeah.
If I can become, it's more like a mental.
Yeah, I like
becoming aware of my own vulnerability.
Yeah, I like this as a thought experiment to imagine yourself as a victim, and then be like, okay, what am I being victimized? Like, what does that victimization look like?
Right.
And so that's sort of like a way to display your vulnerabilities and to display like your weaknesses and that.
I mean, maybe an easy example. Let's go really lazy. If I'm a victim of, say, my own financial circumstances, then maybe I'm being overcharged for everything in my life. Everything that I'm paying for in my life, I'm paying too much for. I'm a victim. Right. And so I should go around asking for a discount for everything. I don't think that's going to ultimately work everywhere, but some people might just give me a discount.
I see.
I have seen it. I've seen people who remember this. Every time they get to a checkout, whatever they're buying, they're like, can I have a discount? Like 10, 20% of the time you get a yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Some
Is that an
people
Australian thing?
no, not Australian.
Because like some countries, like you bargain, like you're supposed to bargain. Like Israel,
Yeah.
like the shucks and stuff, like the
A
marketplaces.
marketplace, sure, but
Yeah. And here, like they'll, I actually usually ask, like depending on how sketchy the place is, I usually ask for cash discount.
right.
And like very often they give you cash discount.
Mm.
But just like like a just like a discount, like for no reason.
Well, for the reason that I deserve a discount.
Right.
I don't do this, but I know people who talk about it.
In business, there's an often stuff like that. Depending on like
Yeah.
if you're like a small business, then you can often do that.
Yep.
There's often like
I mean, to put a good word in for discount territory, we are currently in the world of inflation, and so everyone's prices have just like jumped up. So
right.
now, like this year or this period of time, if you're like, hey, can I have a discount? They're like still deciding whether they're worth the new price, and you
Right.
may be able to get a lot more discounts now than you will in 10 years' time when
But
people
like the grocery store is not going to give you a discount.
big system. Actually, this one time,
Okay. Okay.
this one time I went to the grocery store and like it's a big chain. I can't even remember which one it was, and I was like, I was counting. I was in the like, let's just count all the numbers. Let's add it all up and work out how much it costs. And I was like, I used to do this all the time. I'd say to the person working at the checkout, how much do you think this is? Because they do this all day. They see how much people are buying and how much people are spending. And I was like, how much do you think it is? And he picked, the guy picked a number, and I picked another number. He picked like 70, and I said, it's 98. And he was like, all right. And I was like, I said to him, what do I get if I win? And he's like, I'll give you my staff 10% discount or whatever, because staff get a discount at the shop.
Oh.
We go, all right. And then sure enough, it's like $98.70 or something. And he gives me the 10% discount. So, you say you can't get it done at a grocery store, but you can.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to. And absolutely, he wasn't supposed to do that. But like, sometimes it's a human.
Right. That's right. That's a good angle. That's a fun, like, because you made it fun for him.
Yeah, I like put some joy into his day or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't say it's not possible, because sometimes it can be done.
I didn't say it wasn't possible. I'm just skeptical of it, and I'm still kind of skeptical of it. But
anyway, the moral of the story is occasionally ask for a discount, and I personally don't, and I probably should more. And yeah,
maybe I should start asking for discounts. See what
I don't.
You know what? Maybe I'll just start doing that and see what happens.
If you can, let me know. I'm super interested. Like, if you can make it happen. There's definitely a energetic relationship with the whole phenomena. Like, you need to be.
Yeah.
It's more complicated. Like,
because I don't think Costco's gonna do it, and then like food places probably don't do that, or maybe they do.
Well, at the end of the day, they throw out a bunch of stuff. Like,
yeah, I feel awkward asking, because sometimes I'm there at night for like a sushi place, and I'm like, I want to be like, hey, do you have any like leftover stuff? But I get kind of embarrassed sometimes.
Right. Well, I mean,
especially if
you have some personal emotional block to the thing that is walk through the world and ask for discounts. I do too. But something to think about.
Yeah, I have less. So if I'm by myself, I'm much more open to it. But if I'm with people, then I get embarrassed in front of them, because I don't know how they're going to react.
Right.
Yeah, I like this.
Something to think about. Anyway, this is probably a good time to wrap up.
Okay.